that's a scary thought and a scary feeling, but he's only played one event last year, one match on the ATP Tour.
Yeah, it has to be tough for Kuerten, who brings the love to the game, doesn't he? I mean, who can forget at the French Open on his back making angels in the red clay after a dramatic victory. I mean, this is a guy who has given us so many memories, and he's trying to create a few more, not only for himself, but for all of us. 6 feet 3 inches tall, and he's got those long legs and long arms. He has wonderful levers to make the ball jump off his racket. So here's Benjamin Becker, a guy who has a little power of his own, starting to serve.
Well, you see right away the power on the serve of Becker. He's a guy that shows he's not intimidated by playing a big name, as he, as you know, took the career and ended it of Andre Agassi at the U.S. Open. So he's played former number ones before and played very well. Starting off this match with 2 aces.
Benjamin Becker spent 4 years playing college tennis at Baylor, won the NCAA title there, as well as led Baylor to the team title. So he has had some valuable college tennis experience. So that's a wonderful start for Benjamin Becker. Loves service game. But we caught up with Gustavo Kuerten and hear his thoughts on being back playing again.
For me, it's the payback, you know, from all the time I've been off and working hard, trying to be in the tour again, and it's a lot of happiness that you know, start to come to my body. I feel grateful to be able to play against the best guys again. So try to enjoy as much as I can and try to really improve to let my game go again.
And that's really what his game was all about, wasn't it? There was that inner joy where some players don't seem to be driven by that kind of motor.
Most don't. He's one of the few guys, as I mentioned at the top, that seems to look as though he's having fun. Now, maybe he's not, but he certainly looks like it, and he's fought hard to get back to being able to play again. He was sort of one of the first guys that could come out, serve huge as a clay courter, and bang off both wings, and that's what made him so tough to beat on clay when he first shot on the scene in 1997. It was a combination of huge first serves and then also both wings. Before he hit it backhand, he could hit a winner from anywhere. He has very loose hands on the strokes. There's not any tension at all, it looks like, when he hits. His backhand is a big flowing stroke. And here's a look, changes that grip, a pretty extreme grip. But then the follow through, wrapping around his body, same thing on the forehand. Yeah, the only problem with that, when you're loose on the volleys, sometimes he floats those volleys a little bit. You've got to tighten up the muscles a little on the volleys. Almost like Gumby on all his strokes, Gustavo Kuerten.
Nice defense from Becker there. You may have seen Joel Drucker, one of our Tennis Channel reporters, earlier talking about this event. You know, he says, you know, in his morning line that he's putting out each day here at the Tennis Channel Open, he says that you know, Kuerten's striking the ball nicely. He's picking Kuerten in straight sets here. How do you feel about this match?
Well, after seeing 3 aces in the first game and a couple of winners, it looks as though Becker's feeling it at the moment. We'll see.
So Jimmy Arias enjoying that seat right on top of the fence.
I'll tell you in about an hour and a half which way I think it'll go.
Now this is the first signs of trouble for Kuerten down a break point.
Becker had a tough day yesterday, lost singles and doubles match. He's happy that it's a round robin. He still has an outside chance if he can win this match in straight sets. Bad stat early going for Gustavo Kuerten is that when he has missed first serves, he's 0 for 3. He's losing the rallies. Lucky to get out of that point, Kuerten, as he was on his back foot a little bit with his backhand, rolling it inside the service line, really giving Becker an opportunity to take advantage. A bad unforced error on the forehand side from him.
Nice time for that ace out wide, 111 miles per hour. So that elicits a cheer from this audience here at the Darling Tennis Center. Kuerten winning his opening service game, dodged a couple of break points and trying to stamp his authority on this match. I don't know if you heard that the Swiss Post is issuing a stamp with Roger Federer on the stamp, which is very unique. That'll be out in April.
So who's the bigger stars, Federer in Switzerland or Guga in Brazil?
I bet Guga in Brazil. What do you think?
Probably, at least a few years ago.
Miss hit off the backhand.
At least in the early going, Guga's not in his rhythm in these baseline rallies. He had a lot of miss hits. Doesn't seem to be hitting through his backhand as much as he used to. A little bit more spin on it.
So some patchy moments from both these players in the early goings. 30 all. And that is the great advantage, isn't it, of having a serve like that. One swing of the racket, you can regain your confidence.
4 aces.
The score.
4 aces and only a handful of points.
Oh, he tried to have volley. And Kuerten forced him into making that tricky play by just curling that one over the net.
Well, here's another look at it. The little dipping forehand, and Becker almost trying to make that too good. Seems like as far back as Kuerten stands to return that wide serve that he just hit again will be open to Becker quite a bit in this match.
Well, it's a nice finish by Becker. And again, the serve setting up so much for him. And a 2-1 lead. Well, let's jump to an outside court now. Angela Haynes said instead 5 games all. Let's head back to Kuerten here on center court, serving at 1-2. And when you're playing a guy like Becker, it puts more pressure on you to protect your own serve. Because he has such a big serve and does a good job on his serve.
Easier game for Guga to this point.
Nice combination from Kuerten. So Kuerten coming back from injuries. Let's take a look at the icy hot injury report. A player who has had some back problems and surgery, and again has not played since February 2006. That's Taylor Dent, and out indefinitely.
Well, I saw him about a week or two ago feeding balls at the Nick Bollettieri Tennis Academy, teaching some lessons. So that's not the way to get back in shape. Oh, great topspin lob. Haven't seen many successful lobs in this desert air. It's a little bit high altitude. The ball tends to fly. Most players haven't been able to control the lobs. Kuerten does a good job there.
Great job, really. What does he do well on this topspin lob? Is there a certain height that you can make the play, or how does he read
Oh,
this?
what's actually funny for me on this lob is he's got good shoulder turn at that point, but he really sort of so loose and flippy, and I don't know how he produced that lob, to tell you the truth. The way he hits it, he is so loose on all of his shots with his hand.
Becker wins his serve, and he leads 3-2 in the opening set. Our coverage of Tennis Channel Open continues here from Las Vegas, Nevada. Winning the opening point on his serve. We are on serve in this opening set. Well, just at the end of the last game, Kuerten, after this exchange, kind of goes to the shoulder here, and I'm wondering, just a little soreness. It's tough when you get 30 years old.
Well, you know, he did have a car wreck in this tournament coming to the courts one of the days earlier in the tournament, and there were some reports that his neck was bothering him a little bit, and that was more than his shoulder, a little bit towards the neck area. Maybe that's flaring up a little bit.
Yeah, one of the transport cars that he was in was rear-ended. Geico match stat says a lot about what Becker's producing out here. 11 winners.
Becker is at the moment in control of many of the rallies. He's forcing the action. Kuerten has been a little bit on his heels, other than when he gets first serves in. Kuerten works so well off of that first serve. When he hits the corners with it, it's tough to get anything on the return.
Now, one important step that Kuerten took in his comeback was rehiring Larry Passos, a coach that he had so much success with. Larry is here. We're going to try and find him in the crowd, but that's, I think, a serious step for him to take. Yeah, that looks like vintage stuff.
Here's a look at Kuerten with the open stance forehand. He doesn't, even when he's coming forward, as that was a semi-approach shot, he still doesn't step in. You see some players with different footwork where sometimes they're hitting open stance, but sometimes on a short ball they'll step in with their front leg. And Kuerten's one of the few guys that has open stance or nothing almost.
Well, the open stance forehand is pretty much standard equipment. Is it harder to go down the line with an open stance forehand?
No, not for these guys. They've got the windshield wiper type of swing. They don't really stay through the ball the way players produced the forehand about 20 years ago.
Now there's a nice forehand down the line, and again, it looks like he keeps the shoulders in a little bit longer when he does go down the line.
Well, the stance is still open, but somehow he manages to just swat across the ball and still control it to either direction.